It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV. Welcome, friends and neighbors. I'm Tyler Kieft. Thank you for joining us. Close to home, a heartwarming story that has gone viral and has ties to us right here in Greater West Bloomfield. 88-year-old Ed Bombas, a veteran who retired from General Motors way back in 1999, has captured hearts recently with his story of having to go back to work at a local Meijer in Brighton after losing his pension and going bankrupt. That's after losing his beloved wife on top of all of that. That's where local social media influencer and the star of Basquatch Hunter Fish Out of Water, Mike McKinstry, stepped in, joining forces with another influencer from all the way out in Australia to raise over $1 million to help Ed's retirement be fully funded going forward. It's captured millions of views across the world on TikTok and other social media, has raised news organizations here in Greater West Bloomfield, the Detroit area, and all across the U.S. to tell Ed's story. And now we'll bring on Mike McKinstry to tell us more about this incredible journey he's taken and in order to help Ed Bombas himself. Mike, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Always happy to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you on, especially under the circumstances of this story, something that I would imagine is not outside of the realm of reality for many people, even those in our elderly population who have been enjoying their retirement or thought they were going to be able to enjoy their retirement, especially after the service they had provided to our community over their many, many years in the local area. And then they got to go back to work. And so in the case of this man, Ed Bombas, an 88-year-old veteran working at a local Meijer store in Brighton, how did you first hear about his story and what led you to want to take action to help him?
We'll start right here at the top. So Sam is an amazing influencer from Australia. And he reached out to me and said, hey, I'm coming to Michigan and I'm just looking for some tips on where to go. And that was pretty much where it started. And then it turned into a long conversation about how we both have the same passion for doing this. We're from two totally different generations, from different parts of the world, totally different backgrounds. But we both do pay it forward stuff for the same reasons, just at two totally different levels. He does his based off of crowdfunding on social media. I do mine with my own income just on the side. But we have the same purpose. So we linked up. He came into Michigan, and I decided to cancel everything for 2 days and to spend 15 hours a day driving around with him doing all these different stories in Detroit. We actually did like 3 or 4 different stories, and this was just the first one, and it went viral. And he shared a list with me of all the submissions. A bunch of people sent him letters and messages and emails from all the amazing people here in Michigan that needed help and could use assistance. And this one stood out to me. Someone said his name was Bob, and that he was 82 years old and he worked at Meijer's. That's pretty much all we had. So we decided, like, you know what? I picked this one on the list. Let's drive all the way to Brighton. Let's go to Meijer. We couldn't find Bob. We spent 2 hours asking everybody, couldn't find him anywhere. We were about to give up and just leave. And I went to buy a drink in the cash register on the way out at the self-scan. And super nice man walked up to me and asked if I needed help with anything. And I was like, no, I got it. Thank you so much. Didn't think anything of it. Then I overheard every customer talking to him about their family and giving him a hug. And it's like, this guy was everyone's family. So I went over to Sam and said, Sam, this is our new Bob. I'm like, his name is Ed. He's 88 years old. It can't be the same guy, but he's our new Bob. I'm like, we have to do something for this guy. I'm like, this is amazing. We talked to the manager there, and the manager was like, this guy is above and beyond incredible. He works here because he loves it here, but he also has to because he has a lot of medical debt, a lot of debt with his family. His wife passed away, and he's trying to cover all the medical debt from that. He could definitely use a Christmas miracle. And we're like, okay, this is our new Bob. It turned out he was the guy that was nominated, but they had the wrong name. But by grace of God and luck, we ended up running to Ed. And Sam started talking to him right away. We gave him $400 for a tip and said, we're going to start a fundraiser for you and hopefully help you chip away at your debt so you can finally retire. Literally 24 hours later, we raised, I think, $750,000 in 24 hours. 36 hours broke $900,000. 48 hours was 1.3 million, and now it's over 1.5 million. We've had celebrities all over the country, all over the world, share this post, donate to it. We had one of the richest men in the world, a billionaire, donate a very large amount to this fund as well. It's just been taken by storm. It's incredible. I think everyone in the world can relate to the story in some way or another. And now, as I've been saying, Ed is everyone's grandfather, everyone's dad, everyone's uncle. Ed is family with everybody around the world. Everyone can relate to him for sure.
And so, as you were researching this, along with Sam Wiedenhofer from Australia, the other influencer that you had mentioned, what about Bob, or in this case Ed's story, attracted you to him? And then when you actually met him in person at that Meijer, how did that add to the impact he had on you, and how much you really wanted to help change this man's life?
Well, it was funny because I was reading the nomination, and the first thing that stood out was he's 88 years old, or in the submission he was 82. But at 82 years old, you shouldn't have to work. Like, if you want to work, more power to you. It's a great thing. You get out and be social, stay moving. But we were told he had to work. And that was the first thing that stood out to me. I have a huge soft spot in my heart for veterans and for elderly, two categories of our population that are very forgotten by everybody, not just our government, but by society in general. So I looked at it like he was my grandfather, like he was my father. My father can't retire. I wish he could, but he's elderly. He can't retire. And I just look at it and I was like, there's something we can do here. Sam is such an amazing man. The stuff he does around the world, the difference he can make is literally life-changing, generational, family-changing he can do with his following. So I was like, if we can change someone's life that dramatically, someone who's in their 80s, who served our country, who is struggling to make ends meet, who has debt, who is forced to work to stay just maintaining the lifestyle. I mean, how can you not get emotional about that story? I was reaching my pockets, like, what can I give this man? Like, I'll give him everything. Like, does he need a shirt? I'll give it to him off my back. He was just, you could read it off paper. When I saw him in person, though, here's the funny part. When I saw him in person, I didn't know it was the same guy. So I had no idea that this man was struggling or any, like, he was so happy. He was so energetic. He told me in an interview yesterday that he felt like his wife was on his shoulder and she is his energizer to make him so outgoing and make him to know how to say the right things to people and be so social. And I told him, I was like, so she's your battery. I'm like, she's what keeps you energized. He's like, yeah. He visits her grave every single day. He tells her everything that happens every day. He told her about the $400 and he still keeps it in his pocket because he's afraid to spend it because he thinks it's not real still. It's just, he's just such an amazing man. And there's so many amazing people out there. I just hope this story reaches every corner of this earth, which it seems like it has, and makes people realize that we all have an Ed. There's an Ed everywhere. It's not just about Ed specifically. It's the story of a person that has been forgotten through the system for 60 years. And luckily, before it was too late, we found him. And what Sam has been doing is just breathtaking to make this all happen. It's incredible.
And we thank Ed for his service also, not only in our elderly population, but a veteran who served our country, who had worked for so long to make an impact on his family, on our country, on our community. Now he's getting that paying back to him in droves. And Mike, you talked about this earlier on, about how you found him, you made this initial communication, you gave him the $400 that you just mentioned, and then you made the posts on social media and it spread like wildfire. It's gone viral. Hundreds of thousands of dollars have been raised to make sure that this man can stay retired. And it all happened so quickly. So as this has all happened within a matter of a few days since you initially met him, what has his reaction been to this outpouring of love from around the globe?
Yesterday I asked him, I said, hey, I'm really sorry about this whole circus that you got thrown into. I hope that you don't mind. Like, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? And he had the biggest smile on his face. And he's like, I love this. This is great. He goes, I'm having so much fun. He's like, people just want to talk to me. And it's like, it got me so choked up because I was like, you forget the power of hello. You forget the power of recognition. Just someone saying hi to somebody. I know in my darkest moment of my life, what inspired me to do these bigger pay forwards like this, almost a decade ago, I was in such a dark spot and someone waved to me one day when I was driving and they knew me. And I was like, I felt recognized and seen and I needed it so bad. And I saw that again with Ed yesterday. He was just like, he's like, people want to talk to me. They want to hear my story. They want to hear about my wife. I get to tell them about my amazing wife. I get to, share my love for people and hear about their families. And he's like, I love this. He goes, I don't know what he swears he has no idea what the fundraiser was up to. I don't know how it's still a secret, but he knows it was a fundraiser. He knows that his story went viral, but he is just loving that people want to come say hi to him. He feels so welcomed. He knows he's not alone. He's getting messages from all over the world. I actually set up a PO box for him locally here, that people from all over the world are sending cards for him that I'll be delivering to him by hand every time they come in. Probably do weekly dumps of all the mail that comes in. But people love him, and I think it's a little too late. I wish we could have found him 25 years ago, but it's never too late to let someone know that you care about them. And I always say that a lot of times most men don't get their flowers until they're dead, and it's nice to be able to give someone their flowers before that. So it's nice for Ed to see all the appreciation.
Mike McKinstry is with us, a West Bloomfield influencer who partnered with an influencer from Australia to help change a local veteran's life, an 88-year-old man who had been working at a local mire to make ends meet because of some medical bills, had to unretire after retiring from General Motors back in 1999. Well, he's going to have a lot of decisions to make about what he wants to do with the best years of his life ahead of him. And as he continues to tell his fantastic story and connect us with not only himself and his lovely personality, but his wife and his greater story as well. Mike, as an influencer, you went into this stage of your life and your career following a dream, and you built an influence by doing that. And now, when you've done something like this, a pay it forward mission that you did because you wanted to give back, and you see how big of an impact that can actually have, does that change in any way your mindset about maybe some of your responsibilities or your abilities just in general, having this kind of an audience behind you and being able to relay these kinds of stories to the greater world?
Yeah, well, look, most of this audience is because of Sam and the work he does. Sam is 22 years old, which blows my mind when I say it out loud. He's just out of a teenager, it's just crazy. And the impact he has and what he's done, he started what he's doing out of a spot of trauma and depression, just like I did. And he grew this to a social media frenzy, what he does for people all over the world. So I'm not going to take the credit for this exploding by any means. This was all Sam's doing. I helped facilitate it. I was there for it. I helped film it. I helped do all the stuff with it. I was there. I helped pick this guy, everything like that. But, the part that I had in this, the growth that I gave it, whatever part of that was, getting the media involved, all this stuff, I'm just glad I was part of the story, this mission. And it reminds me, I always tell people, I do about 200 and something pay it forward things a year. I just don't share them on socials all the time. I do a lot of them private. I do 3 or 4 a week that I keep private for the most part. And I always tell people, like, raising them $1.5 million for somebody is incredible. It's amazing. It's so amazing. But so is buying someone a coffee. So is waving hi to somebody. So is helping someone with their groceries. So is paying for their food randomly at a restaurant. You don't have to make a big impact to make waves. You can always throw a small pebble and make ripples in a big lake still. So as much as I love how big this got, I just hope it inspires people not to just do big things, but also the power of a bunch of small things. A big thing like this could change the world, but small little things can change your world one at a time. And eventually that will change the world too. So this has been incredible. It's reminded me why I do this in the first place, and reminds me how big things can actually get, even when it's a small, just sharing a link online for a fundraiser and seeing the people, the A-list celebrities that are on board saying we're helping this man who would never know who he was otherwise. It's just incredible. The messages I get from Europe, from Germany, all these places, it's just been, the world's a very big place, but when we all come together, it becomes very small. We can all be a village sometimes. So I just hope that this reminds everybody to be a light, no matter how dark it gets. It doesn't matter how bright of a light you have, just shine that light. And I think we all learned that with Ed.
Clearly, we can learn a message of kindness from this, and we can see just how far a little bit of kindness can go on any given day, Mike. But as you've experienced this yourself, and with Sam, and of course with Ed, and just gotten to know him as a person, Ed especially, what do you think the rest of us can learn from Ed's story to live our own lives more vibrantly.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I have learned a lot from this man in the last couple of days of knowing him. We've had some great conversations, and he told me yesterday, he's like, I don't know why I'm so special. And I was like, Ed, I'll be honest with you, it's not that your story's special because everyone has struggles. I'm like, it's that you're special. It's your heart. I'm like, that's what makes you special. I'm like, it's because you carry your wife with you every day. I'm like, it's because you carry all your struggles with you, but everyone thinks you're family still. When we were at Meyer, there's people, I've been getting messages from people left and right that go to his checkout lane on purpose. They'll avoid open checkout lanes to wait in line to go to his because they want to talk to him about his family. They want to tell them about their kids. They want to give them cookies for the holidays. He hugs everybody. Everyone hugs him. He literally, like, if you watch him at work, he looks like he's just like a grandpa and all of his kids are there. Like, that's what it feels like. It's such a crazy atmosphere that he creates. And if he can go through those struggles, he's carrying, six figures, high six figures in debt from medical bills, from his wife passing, from, his pension getting taken away, from all these things. He just acquired so much debt. He's had all these struggles. He's in so much internal pain from his loss of his wife still to this day. And he walks around with a big smile, friendliest man in the world. He's got this gravity about him that when you get too close to it, you just want to fly into him, give him a hug. I think I hugged him like 3 times yesterday. I couldn't help it. And if you go to see him at work, everybody hugs him. I mean, it's just, to be able to have that turmoil on the inside, but have that sunshine on the outside, that's a gift. And I think we can all learn that maybe our struggles aren't that bad. Maybe we can put a smile on. Maybe we can just forge through the day and we can make an impact still, just like Ed does every single day.
Well, you know what? You can go to work and do the work because you need the money. In this case now, hopefully with the way that this has gone for Ed, he can do it from choice just because he enjoys the people, enjoys the scenery.
He's going to be able to see his family, and his biggest goal was to see his brother who's terminally ill out of state, and he couldn't afford to do it. Want to see his other family somewhere else in the country. He can do that now. He didn't want to have the burden and the pressure, which he's very, very pressured with all the debt. Our goal wasn't to make him retire, because if he wants to work, we want him to work. Like, if he wants to be there and hang out, like, let him do it. We want him to be free. And that's something that money can't buy normally. But in this case, because everybody chipped in, he's going to be able to have freedom.
Well, we can learn a lot from some of the doom and gloom of the news, but sometimes the news teaches us the lessons we really need. Mike, thanks as always.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Appreciate
you joining us, Mike, and appreciate all the work that he's done in our community and beyond to help people, both though in those ways that we see on social media, like this viral story with Ed Bombas out of Brighton, the 88-year-old Meyer worker who had to come back out of retirement in recent years to pay off some of those debts. Now they're being paid off by people all across the world and their generosity, a heartwarming story. If you want to contribute to this fundraiser, we'll put the link on our website on civiccentertv.com, as well as on our YouTube page when this segment is posted later on today. So check back in on our YouTube page at Civic Center TV, or visit us on civiccentertv.com for that full segment if you're just tuning in, and to get a link to that fundraiser. A new era is about to begin in West Bloomfield Township as West Bloomfield Parks closes the Recreation Activity Center to begin the brand new Connect Community Center project on the Civic Center campus. With that closure comes some changes for WB Parks staff and for you as well as you engage in park services and get ready for events in 2026 and in part of 2027 as well. West Bloomfield Parks Executive Director Kelly Heyer joined Jake Schaff on the Splash Live to tell us the key details.
Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning. That's a great intro.
Got to get all that information out there. Got to make sure people of West Bloomfield are informed. This is a very big development, but an exciting one as well, because you guys have some very big changes coming up. What specific programs and services are being moved, and where will they be operating during this transitional period throughout the community?
That is a big question, and I will try to answer it swiftly. So we offer all of our customer service out of the Recreation Activity Center. So our customer service operations will still continue, but our walk-in services, of course, will be moved to Connect Senior Center, and that's at 14 Mile and Farmington Road. So we've been in that facility since 2024. We opened in August there. But if you call the phone number, the 451-1900 number, it'll still be answered. You just might not know where that person is sitting. So traditionally, they have been answered the phones at the Recreation Activity Center. So behind the scenes, you'll still get the quality customer service that our residents are used to.
All right, that's good for everybody to be aware of. And it sounds like things at the Connect Senior Center maybe might be a little bit crowded, at least for a little bit, until things start to sort themselves out and everybody finds a good place to land. How would you say these relocations are going to directly affect daily operations and activities that already take place with the Connect Senior Center?
Sure, we've tried to keep the same template of the set schedule going forward, and we're going to be displaced for 2 years. And we'll get more into the timeline. So for 2 years, we're going to be living this new way of the schedule. We've expanded our hours for programming at Connect just to be conducive to evening and weekend activities. And we've also expanded our rental services for Connect. So traditionally, you've been able to come in and rent Marshbank Lodge, Recreation Activity Center, Drake Sports Park, Community Room, and now you'll see Connect as a rental opportunity on the list. Because we know at the Recreation Activity Center, we have 2 small rooms that people have used traditionally for maybe a baby shower or a family gathering or an HOA meeting. And now without those 2 spaces, we've tried to be thoughtful in, okay, what else could we offer the community? So we've consistently always worked with our instructors and our volunteers to bring recreation leisure services to our residents. And we're still going to continue to work with our instructors on setting their schedule. So in the winter guide, which just became live on our website, and you'll find the winter guide in your mailbox soon, you'll see where all the programs are taking place. And then when we get to the summer season next fall, you'll see some small changes to the schedule there as well.
All right, glad to hear that you guys have everything under control, that everything should remain efficient for the community. Everybody's still getting what they want to see. Now, I would imagine with a big move like this, there's going to be a lot of moving parts. Maybe, and like you said, people are going to be in kind of a weird position for a while. What steps is the Parks and Rec team taking to ensure continuity and minimal disruption for Connect members?
Well, we behind the scenes have a way we handle communication, and we ensure that our staff are staying knowledgeable and up to speed. And that is through just our internal technology and communications, our registration software, our meetings that we hold regularly with different parts of the staff. So we'll continue to have those interactions. As far as our residents, though, you can still look for updates in the following areas on our website, in our written publications, which include the activity guide, our senior happenings that come out a couple times a year, and then of course our monthly email blast. So if you are a Connect member and your membership is still current, you should be receiving a monthly email from Bernadette Hudgens, who's our senior services manager, and she gives most recent up-to-date information, just quick snippets of what you need to know for that month. And then, of course, if you walk into Connect, we have monthly flyers that highlight the calendar and activities and anything you might need to know there. So we're trying to cover the bases if you're technology savvy or if you would like to see something in paper form, we've got you covered.
You got something for everything, and always doing your work to keep the community informed. I love to see it. Now, with the daily operations at Connect, it sounds like that a lot of the traditional events and regular events that take place at Connect will be continuing, but are there events with Connect that might temporarily be paused, at least until you've finalized the transitional period?
You know, nothing to my knowledge. We have had to relocate Meals on Wheels. That I didn't get a chance to update the community on. So if you are a recipient of Meals on Wheels, you'll see nothing change. But if you are a volunteer that drives for Meals on Wheels, whether or not you have a regular route or you're a substitute driver, instead of the Recreation Activity Center, you will need to go to the police department, which is across the parking lots on the Civic Center campus. So that is one logistically change. That we thankfully have a great partnership with our campus neighbors, and the police department have picked up that service. So our volunteers will still have a very easy way to get their supplies out to our homebound seniors. But as far as our other services, I can't think besides no rentals here at the Recreation Activity Center related to the senior center. But nature outreach, if I can speak on that for a moment, I can give a quick update on that. So traditionally, again, our naturalists are really clever, creative, and have offered up a monthly routine of offerings. And we've had to make some location changes and put a pause on Discovery Days. So those will be reinvented, and we might have an update for the summer guide. But until then, just watch for the email blasts or the information that is on your registration receipt for those changes, because when we're moving the animals during the 2-year when we build out the community center, we had not been able to secure a location for residents to be able to come in and use the nature room like they do now. But our outreach services, we're still going to offer that. So the naturalists are on the road, and that's always been a service that they've offered before. And so I'm thinking more outreach appointments that will be coming your way if that's what the residents so choose to work with us on.
All right, seems like a lot of out-of-the-box thinking for a lot of these very well-known services that you see at the Parks and Rec Center, giving them a bit of a fresh coat of paint and making sure that they are still accessible for as many people in the community as possible. I love to see it. For those just joining us on the Splash Live, I'm talking with West Bloomfield Parks Executive Director Kelly Heyer, who's talking about the transitional period that's going to be taking place very, very soon on December 12th, when the Rec Activity Center closes its doors and we begin the transitional process temporarily to Connect Community Center. Now, one of the big things I'm curious about that might be affected from this change is transportation. How will transportation, accessibility, or facility navigation be addressed for seniors during this period?
I'm really glad that you're asking that question. That was the first group of employees to move, so they've already been reassigned to their new location. And so again, the phones will be answered in the same manner. Seniors are making their appointments for transit services. You won't even know that our scheduler is in a different location. As far as the employees, where they get their buses, where they clean out their buses, that's been relocated to a location for the next 2 years. And it went really well yesterday. I checked in with staff, and they seemed to not even miss a beat.
All right, that's good that the staff is up to date and already hard at work going through this process. Now, with this process taking place in this transitional period, there's going to be a lot of different things going on, but do you think there's the possibility for maybe new community partnerships to come for the Connect Senior Center during this time?
Yes, we started these conversations a couple years ago, knowing and hoping that we'd be going in this direction. So we actually have been working very closely with the West Bloomfield School District, and they will be reviewing a consideration for the lease of the Green Media Center for our administrative staff, our naturalists, and one customer service representative. So stay tuned for an official update on that, but the West Bloomfield School Board is giving consideration for use of that space. And as you know, Civic Center TV, we're all partners and making sure that our residents not only stay informed, but what services we're providing to our residents are documented and are celebrated with the community, and then are saved for historical purposes. So we'll still be able to continue to work with Civic Center TV in that manner and still be able to provide really great services. I think we'll just all be on the go more, Jake, is what I'm assuming.
Well, I certainly love hearing that last little bit. And yeah, we love to help you guys out and love to get this information out there. Now, you said that this transitional period should last about 2 years. Are there any benchmarks or milestones that the community should watch out for in that time? And maybe some of the first ones people should be aware of?
So let's address the demolition of the existing building. And that was an extensive analyzation of the process and the actual building utilities and where it sits on this site. And it's a very complicated site because we're surrounded by nature. And the one thing that the community is gaining by demoing this building and shifting all of the building services to the east is the west side of the building now that has the outdoor natural play area, as well as the parking lot that we sometimes turn into event space. The half of our existing building now will be returning to green space. So we're gaining square footage on the west side of the building. We're calling it an outdoor plaza. And so we'll be able to house more polished events outdoors on the west side of our building. And the outdoor natural play area will be expanded and enhanced and a little bit more intentional in the programming. Right now, if you're out in our parking lot, you can tell it's a parking lot, that it was never really planned to have big community events on the west side of our building. So that's one thing that we're gaining by taking down this building. The other thing that we had to really analyze was the utilities and the HVAC and the roof and the quality of the windows and the doors and all the functions of how that connects internally, where the bathrooms sit. And we really took a look at how the flow would work if we kept half of the existing building, which would only be 4,000 square feet. In any way, shape, or form, we looked at that. And we took about 6 weeks to analyze the existing site. We just couldn't make it work. What we're ending up with is a 2-story, 48,000 square foot building, but it sits upon a roughly 25,000 square foot footprint, if you can envision that part. So we're not taking, like if you compare us to the library, that's a 1-story, 65,000 square foot building. Our building is going to be stacked on top of each other. So with that, the demo of this building is about 4 months process in the planning and the execution of it. So by April 1st, we might be just starting demo or wrapping up demo. That's one milestone we've been using, is the April 1st date. But we'll break ground in the spring, and there'll be a 16-month construction period. And with construction, Mother Nature needs to play her part in helping us along in this. We're really hoping to have staff inside the new Connect Community Center in the fall of 2027. That way we can make sure we're organized enough to welcome our first programs into the building and then expand all of our programming to the residents. So right now, the 2 dates I'll give you is April 1st of 2026 for groundbreaking and fall of 2027 for when staff will move back in and we'll start to reopen the community center.
Lots of work on the horizon, but all of this work is going to be worth it for all of these amazing resources coming to the community. I got one more question for you, Kelly. Where is the best place people can go to stay up to date on any updates with this brand new center and how they can stay informed on what's to come?
Oh, can I give you 3? So
it
depends on your time. If you are able to check your weekly email blast, that is the best place to get up-to-date, relevant information. And we are really intentional about how we send out that email. It is only once a week, and we are going to give you the top things that you need to know. So that way it's fresh, it's really current information, and that'll include sometimes closures, reminders, things in holidays, if something's selling out, or important reminders for the community. The next thing would be our website. If you go to our website and you go to the bonds page, we've been able to keep that page up to date and hyperlinking different articles or publications or even YouTube videos that you guys record for us. And then beyond that, the Park Commission meetings, those are recorded monthly, and you can go back and watch those if you're unable to attend live in person. And that's a great source of information because I do a update in that meeting during the staff report specifically on the community center projects. So that way, again, we're making it really easy. If you have email, or you're wanting to go search yourself for the website or check out a YouTube video on the Park Commission meeting, you'll be completely informed on all of the progress we've been making on this project.
All right, plenty of places to go to stay informed on all of the big changes coming to West Bloomfield. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
You're very welcome anytime. I love coming on, and you're a great interviewer. Appreciate the questions.
You can keep up to date on the big move out of the Recreation Activity Center and the future at the brand new Connect Community Center coming in 2027. Follow West Bloomfield Parks on social media, Facebook at WB Parks, Instagram at WB_Parks, and of course it's on their website on WBParks.org. In addition, we'll keep you updated right here on the Splash Live and with other special programming along the way. Find us on demand on CivicCenterTV.com. We'll take a break on the Splash Live. On the other side, one of our 4 communities becomes a winter wonderland this evening. We'll give you all the details and tell you how you can participate after this. Stay with us. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV.
We'll be right back with the Splash Live.
I'm Gina Gregory, president of the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society. I'm excited that Civic Center TV has reached 1 million views on YouTube. Congratulations. That's just terrific. We appreciate everything Civic Center does for the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society and the community. For us, they promote and highlight our events. It's awesome to have them available 24/7 on YouTube. I'm Gina Gregory and proud to be one in a million.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is, fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
When your child is online, it's like opening the door for a predator to enter their world. At any given time, there are 50,000 child predators out there looking to groom, exploit, or ask for sexual photos that could lead to sextortion. It can happen to any kid, even yours. Teach your child how to navigate the digital world safely so they can avoid falling victim.
Find local municipal meetings at our program schedule on CivicCenterTV.com. Find when your meetings air live or when they're replaying on our Civic Center TV live stream. Find it all at CivicCenterTV.com and click Schedule at the top of the screen. And now, back to the Splash Live.
Welcome back to the Splash Live on Civic Center TV. I'm Tyler Kieft. Thank you for joining us, and as always, for following along with all of our programming on CivicCenterTV.com, where you'll also find links to each and every one of our social media so you can follow us for even more content and some of the short form clips along the way so that we're always in your pocket and on your schedule. Again, that's CivicCenterTV.com. Close to home tonight, Rose Sorter Park in Keego Harbor will become a winter wonderland. Don't worry, I'm not talking about more snow, hopefully, but it's all the hard work in this case of Keego Harbor Parks and Recreation, which has been putting up lights, decorations, and more to prepare for this annual winter holiday tradition and celebration. Kirsten Sonneville-Douglas joined us right here on the Splash Live with all the details on tonight's fun and festivities in Keego.
Kirsten, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning, Jake. Thanks for having me.
Of course, always love to talk about great stuff happening in Keego Harbor, and this is one of those events that I truly think everybody looks forward to every single year. Talk about the origins of the Winter Wonderland Park. How did it all get started?
Oh, it was revamped because of COVID. Prior to COVID, it was a big to-do in DPW. We had to move all, and this was actually before I was on the commission, all the police cars, all of the equipment had to be moved out of DPW. They did an amazing job of lighting up DPW. They had crafts, Santa came. It was a wonderful event. We had to revamp it because of COVID, right? We couldn't gather, and we're technically Parks and Rec. So I threw out an idea saying, what if we lit up the park? And I'm forever thankful for Leslie Clark, because she took that idea and made it happen. She's out there measuring and researching different lights, and I'm so thankful for her. So every year it's gotten better. So since 2022, I believe, is the first one that we had. We keep adding to it, and it's just magical. If you have the chance to see it, it's wonderful.
It is a beautiful thing, and it's great to hear of all of the planning that goes into making this lighting ceremony just right for everybody. So you said this has been going on for a few years now. How would you say this event has grown or changed since the previous years, and what makes this year, 2025, so special?
It takes time for new events to kind of take hold. Since coming on the commission, one of my missions was to kind of make sure that our calendar was solid. I don't know if that's the right word, but that this is always our Winter Wonderland will kick off on the first Friday of December. So that way we're not sitting there going, is it this Friday? Is it the next Friday? It's always going to be the first Friday of December. And then just word of mouth. And the first time people, walking around or driving around, you can actually see it from Cass Lake at night when it's dark, right? People come by every night. When you're around, you'll see someone in the park. It's just wonderful bringing community, even not just for the event, but through the whole month of December.
That's right. It sets the tone for the month to come. I mean, the holiday season brings so much joy to everybody, and it's events like these that really help kick it off just right. Kirsten, what can families expect when they arrive at Rose Sorter Park for the lighting celebration?
Well, if they come just a few minutes before 6, it'll be dark. We will do a countdown to light the park up, and then we just celebrate with some music. We've got barrels where people can roast marshmallows. We'll have hot dogs, some hot chocolate. There is a fun Kegel Land game so that people can take spinners and have tasks that when they're walking around the park or around the path. What else? Just being around community is so wonderful.
It absolutely is, and that sounds like so much fun for all the families that are going to be attending this event. Now, of course, with a lot of community events, there's also a greater purpose. You guys are going to be doing some great work at this event to support the Open Door Outreach Center. Can you describe how that partnership came to be and how the donations are going to be supporting local families?
Yeah, when we were continuing to revamp this or add to this event, we thought about the season of lights and the season of giving. And to help our community, one of our commissioners at the time, Jackie Van Dox, and I want to thank her for her work, partnered with Open Door Outreach Center. And so we do a food drive all the month of December, and people can bring their non-perishable food items to City Hall, but they can also bring it to the event, and we'll make sure that it gets to the center.
All great things being done in Kego Harbor. For those just joining us on the Splash Live, I'm talking with Kirsten Sonneville Douglas of the Kego Harbor Parks and Rec team about the annual Winter Wonderland Park event that's going to be coming up very, very soon on Friday, December 5th at 6 p.m. Now, Kirsten, we talked about this a little bit, but truly with events like these, you want to make sure that there's something for everybody here. How do you ensure that the event is accessible and welcoming for residents of all ages?
So there's activities for little ones. I mean, who doesn't like to make a s'more, right? So that's for everyone. But we make sure that these are free events so that there are no barriers when it comes to finances, and that we just want to make sure it's available for the community. It's only an hour long, so it's not a huge time commitment either, but it's fun. We've had adults going around playing the Candyland game and said it was just really fun to hit one of the spots and then they had to sing a Christmas carol or something like that. So it's just really enjoyable for everybody.
It's only an hour long, but so much can happen in that time period to really make a difference. And how do you hope the event really strengthens community connections in Kego Harbor?
Just wanting to get our community out and about. Part of it also is the volunteerism. This weekend, our team was out there busy setting it up. We'll be out there again this next Saturday, next Sunday at noon. So if people are available to help out, we can always use another hand, but it really is about bringing our community together, whether it's serving our community or just actually bringing them together to hang out and build that community.
That's right. And we want as many community members to be helping out with this event as possible. And even if they're not able to, let's say they're not able to attend that event, something else is going on that night, how can community members participate beyond attending? For example, maybe contributing to the food drive.
So the food drive is all this whole month. So they can bring their non-perishable food items to City Hall, but people can join just by, liking us on Facebook, being plugged in, knowing what's happening with us, because we have people who have little ones, and so they have activities that speak to them, like the egg hunt. But then we have adults, maybe some retirees that are like, I just want to hang out at a park and listen to some music and have some good food and hang out with some friends and check out some local artisans. And then the block party is for them. But it's something for everyone. We're trying to make sure that we do have that and we hit all those points.
Something for everybody with the Winter Wonderland event in Kego Harbor. But out of everything that takes place with this event, Kirsten, what do you hope families, the biggest thing, what do you hope families take away from the event as they head into the holiday season?
They have fun. That's my biggest one, is that they have a good time and that we think of others with that whole giving. So I'm hoping that just bringing a can of something to the City Hall or to the event will help another family in need.
You're right. All great things that can be done. Last question before we wrap things up, Kirsten. We have this event happening on December 5th. Can you give us maybe a little bit of insight of some other things that might be taking place with Kego Harbor throughout the rest of December and maybe even into the next year?
So that wraps up for December. Unless you want to come to a Parks and Rec meeting, we'd love to have you. But we do have our Taste of Kego, which is our restaurant week that will happen at the end of January, and that is January 26th. Starts 26th and goes for a week.
All right, lots to look forward to in Kego Harbor and lots of holiday fun on the horizon. Kirsten, thank you so much for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
Thanks, Jake.
You can find more information on what's going on with Kego Harbor Parks and Recreation during the holiday season and their events calendar for 2026. Follow them on Facebook at KH Parks for more information, or find a list of events happening in Kego on their website, kegoharbor.org. The holidays are a time of joy and giving, but for scammers, it's about misery and stealing, which is why Orchard Lake Police Department is sounding the alarm to make sure you are aware of some of the tactics that criminals are using to try to replace your hard-earned cash with a lump of coal. Joining us now on the Splash Live with helpful information is Officer David McNeely from the Orchard Lake Police Department. Officer McNeely, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, everybody. Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays to you as well. And unfortunately for the scammers, they're trying to turn that happy holiday into a whole lot of misery for consumers. And we hear about it every single year, but there are real stories of real people, even in our communities, that are falling victim to these scams. So in 2025, what are some of the most common ways we see scammers creep into our holiday season and run some of their best schemes?
First of all, I want to acknowledge our mayor and council and my chief of police, Gomez, for wanting to get the message out to our residents for these type of scams. So thank you to them and kudos to them for acknowledging and making sure that our residents are prepared for this type of situation. One of the common things that we're seeing in trending is scams where someone is pretending to be law enforcement actually and calling a relative and saying that a loved one has been arrested and that has a warrant for their arrest, and they need to provide assistance in getting them out of jail. And then they'll ask one of our residents to go to, say, a CVS and purchase gift cards to get the person out of jail.
And those are pretty common in our local area. We've heard of those happening all across the U.S. And it's fairly universal, should I say, that this is not necessarily a way that law enforcement would actually reach out to anybody about paying a fine if they're directed to do so by their local municipality.
No, we would never do that. We're not going to ask you to go to a local CVS store and purchase green dot Visa cards. We're never going to do that. So just if it sounds like it's a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. People are feeling generous, and sometimes that makes them take their guard down. And we don't want you to have your guard down during the holiday season. So we want you to be prepared for scams like that. Different things that they might try to do is when you're making purchases online, is the website. You need to make sure it's a valid website. You need to make sure that that it actually is what you're trying to purchase.
And you mentioned people letting their guard down. There's ways that kind of gets weaponized by these scammers, and they take strategic moves in order to bring that guard down too in some of these interactions. But one of the ways during the holiday season that we most commonly see scams creep up and actually work on consumers is their generosity. It's an easy way to get our guards down. We want to give back this holiday season. People, maybe even for tax purposes, want to get those last-minute donations in during the 2025 calendar year. Do we typically see that those sorts of scams creep up this time of the year and have a little bit more of a success rate with our local residents?
Unfortunately, again, it's just because people are, like you said, Teller, people are, a great point, and people are feeling generous, and sometimes that lets their guard down. We want you to understand that the federal government, the local government, any form of government is not going to call you or send you an email asking you for your social security number or personal information. Your banking institutions, for example, Tyler, they're not going to call you and tell you or ask you for personal information over the phone. So people, be aware that if someone calls you and asks you for your personal information, say example of your social security number or the last four of your social security number, that's probably a scam. And so you need to stop and pause. I'm asking everyone, if you get something like that, where it seems like it's too good to be true, stop and pause and ask yourself, does this seem right? Should I contact a relative or authority saying, hey, does this seem right to you? You're going to get email links sometimes or text messages, and you're telling you that you've won something, but click on here. Don't click on it. Don't open it, because then it will have access to your cell phone, and we all know that the majority of us live on our cell phones nowadays, and all of our information is connected to our cell phone. And if you click into that link, that you may get things, example, it could be your phone carrier, like AT&T or Verizon or T-Mobile, saying that, hey, you've just been approved for a new phone or something that unsolicited. Keep in mind, over the next course of a few weeks, as you start to, do your Hanukkah purchases or your Christmas purchases, et cetera, or your holiday purchases, that you're going to be inundated with AI-generated phone calls or text messages, and just be leery of those things and unsolicited information when they're trying to solicit you for, like, say, a loan application and things like that you didn't apply for.
And these are common scams too. We see them sort of take different creative license as they go about, but they're all sort of under the same MO. Especially when it comes to email, they'll do what's called spoofing in email, where it looks like you're getting it from a legitimate source. Maybe it is one of the big box retailers, or maybe it is a communication that looks like it's directly from the police department. But there's always those little cues, those little subtle differences that you can also see. Like, for example, knowing the website of your local city. In Orchard Lake, it would be cityofOrchardLake.com. So if it just has orchardlake.com in the email, there's a red flag for you. Or even beyond that, as Officer McNeely had said, if you're ever unsure, just contact the entity directly. Don't answer through the email. Don't answer from that phone number that called you. Hang up and look up that information, Officer McNeely.
Your banking institutions example, I also recommend to my residents in the Orchard Lake and Greater West Bloomfield area. Use your credit card when you're going out to dinner, right? Use it at the pump. Use your credit card instead of your debit card. You have a lot more protection with the credit card than you do with your debit card. and they have a lot more triggers in place to contact you if something looks fraudulent or suspicious to them. They can reach out and contact you, and you're covered better that way. And there's a better mechanisms in place to protect you, right? Use your credit card. An example, again, for your lending institutions, wherever that may be, your credit unions, banking, etc., they will not call you and say, hey, we found something suspicious, but we need you to give us your social security number to verify whether or not a transaction is a legitimate transaction. They're not even going to call you and do that. They'll let you know that they're not going to do that. So if throughout the holiday season, if you happen to get a text message or phone call from someone saying they're your banking institution, you should automatically stop and pause, because they should not be calling you, and they will not. You can look at their websites or speak to anyone in your lending institution, and they're going to tell you that they're not going to call you and ask you for personal information over the phone. Emails, text messages, anything to do with a phone call coming in soliciting information to you. We got to keep in mind, unfortunately, AI is a gift and it's a curse, and it can duplicate us in so many ways, and that includes our voice. So we want to be cautious on any phone call that you might get asking you to say your name or give out the last 4 digits of your debit card or your credit card.
Very important information to keep in mind during this holiday season, and you can apply it to any time of the year. On top of that, Officer David McNeely is with us from the Orchard Lake Police Department. Lots of experience in his law enforcement career investigating these scams and seeing how they've manifested right here in Greater West Bloomfield during his experience with the West Bloomfield Police Department and now, of course, with the Orchard Lake Police Department. Unfortunately, the reality is some people are going to fall victim to these scams, even in our community. We hope that they don't, but in the event that they do, what steps can they take to try to either A, alleviate the losses that they've experienced as a result of those scams, or at the very least, open an investigation, get law enforcement involved, and maybe catch these perpetrators?
Immediately contact what other agency, if it's us, if it's West Bloomfield, whatever agency, whatever community you are in, contact your law enforcement immediately. Contact your credit bureaus immediately. Try to contact whatever lending institution it might be if you happen to fall prey to it. If you're able to take steps immediately, that lets the lending institution know that you tried to protect yourself and that you fell victim to it, and you're more likely to be covered by them if you took the proper step, if you were in fact scammed. That's why it's important for the residents of Orchard Lake or any community, West Bloomfield, etc., our greater community, to remember that you have to try to protect yourself and not fall prey to these things. If it sounds too good to be true, folks, it's too good to be true, and don't ever fall for that. Try not to, but in the event that you do fall prey to it, contact the local law enforcement wherever you might live and allow us to do investigation immediately on it and start those mechanisms and put those things in place to help protect you.
And at the very least, getting those police department reports filed with your local department or wherever may be the point of origin of these crimes also puts in place a communication between them and other agencies to investigate this on top of that. Officer McNeely, thank you as always for joining us and, of course, for this helpful information.
Absolutely, guys. Happy holidays. And just remember to make sure you're taking your packages in, guys, because it's also porch pirate season, and we don't want you to fall victim for that. Send your packages to relatives that are home. Have them sent to Amazon Locker or Locker Maps. There's the things that you can protect yourself, ways you can protect yourself that way. But don't leave your packages on the porch. If you can have them delivered when you're going to be home, or have them delivered to friends or neighbors that are going to be home to receive your packages.
Always good advice, and we appreciate that. Thank you. Happy holidays to you and yours and everyone over at the Orchard Lake Police Department. For more information, emergency updates, and helpful tips all throughout the year, you can follow the Orchard Lake Police Department on Facebook at Orchard Lake Police. In addition, if you're looking for even more helpful holiday advice to avoid scams, whether it be from consumer outlets or possible giving opportunities, the Better Business Bureau has an entire website dedicated to that, bbb.org. civiccenter.tv/all/holiday-HQ. If you look on your screen right now on civiccentertv.com, you'll see a link to that website in this very episode. Follow that link in our lower third graphic, or go to bbb.org and just search holiday scam or holidays. You'll find all of that information right there. Hey, look, the scammers are getting sophisticated. They think they're smart. The benefit is you can be smarter and beat them at their own game. That's our show. I want to remind you that television that's close to home is always online on CivicCenterTV.com and all across our social media outlets. Follow us for more in the coming days, weeks, months, and years, and for all of our special content along the way. Big thank you to our entire crew for making this show possible, and of course to you for joining in. For our entire team at Civic Center TV, I'm Tyler Kieft. Thanks for tuning in to The Splash Live.